Yeah. Okay. So today into a quick website. I have a couple of my accounts favorited. To type in the name of the instance, we're going to call this live stream demo. Create it. CSS frameworks or H. Let's try it.
That should be better.
Okay, so we're back online. So what I'd done before is I was creating a live demo on the system. We're going to go through that process again. So the first thing I'm going to do inside Zesty.io, you can see I'm looking at my accounts. I have 3 of my favorite accounts up here, but I'm going to create a new instance. We'll call it live demo, live stream demo. And we're going to use products in this one. So on this demo, we're going to choose a blueprint, which essentially that you can start by choosing a couple CSS frameworks. We're going to choose from nothing, from scratch, so we can just grab one from the internet. So we're going to choose blank slate. On creation, you can see that you get some information on your instance here. You can choose to invite users from here. There's team access and what blueprint you're using. We're just going to jump right in and open the manager. So upon opening the manager, this is going to create like your cloud instance and your CDN and everything you need to launch a full-blown website or headless experience. And when we're in the manager, we kind of pretty much have a home page and there's nothing else really going on with the site. So if we go back to accounts, there's 2 buttons up here. One is Open Manager, one is Open Preview. We're going to click Open Preview. This is going to be your Zesty.io web preview. So if you're building out any headless experience or actual web content, this is the preview you can share with your peers or look at when you're developing through the system. So the first thing I'm going to do in Zesty is I'm going to jump into schema. Schema is how we create our what we call content models. So in this example, we're going to create a content model called products. And we're going to choose a group or view. We're choosing it this way because there's going to be an HTML view associated with the products. And we're choosing group because there's going to be lots of products. So let's just put products and we're going to hit create. So now we have an empty content model here and we're going to add our first data field. So products have, let's say a product name, we'll just call it name. And then we're going to add a product description and call it description. So what we're doing is we're creating content model fields. These will then later be populated with product name, product description, etc. We'll call this one price. And we're going to add an image. So what I'm doing here is I'm doing a drop down of different data field options. For this, I'm going to choose image and we'll just call this image. And we're giving it names. So we now have a product content model. It's very simple. We can build it out later, but let's go add a few products. So now you see I clicked in the content. I have a home page, which came default, and now I have a products content model. This content model is empty, so we're going to add our first product here. We'll call this shoe. Let's just look up some Adidas shoes real quick. Thanks, Zappos. Okay, so we're back in Zesty. We're going to make a skateboarding shoe. Great for downhill bombing. Price, we'll just give it $40. We're going to upload a piece of media from our desktop, which is that shoe. Click it to load that shoe item. So now we have we're filling out, remember we created a content model with name, description, a price, and an image. Very simple. And you can see down here it's starting to fill out the meta information, which could be used to build out websites, or Zesty will automate into a website for you. It's taking the name and creating rich URL path parts for Google and other search engines, and it's showing you an example of what that search engine listing is going to look like. So if we want to change the meta description, great for downhill bombing on Sunday evenings, right? You can see it start to build out over here in this search engine example. So we're going to create, and we now have our first product. So essentially it looks like the same view, but you're going to see different things like item status. You're going to have a preview URL here, and you're going to see versions. So if we change skateboarding shoe, we want a capital B there, we hit save. We're going to see we have 2 versions of it now. So we can actually go back to the original version and see what it was. So let's just push that a little bit further. Great for downhill bombing, let's say on Friday evenings. Hit save. And now you can see that you can kind of jump back into what the history of that is. Each version is actually tracked to the user, so you can see who made the edits at what time, which is quite nice. If you want to edit the meta directly, you can change the path parts here, navigation text, meta title, and again, this is the information that typically Google sees. It happens behind the scenes. You can also adjust sitemap priorities and canonical tags down here. If you want to, you can add custom head tags. This is typically used by developers, but if you want to have custom tags that say add CSS styles or do other things like verification, you can do that there. So let's add another product. Let's just call it skateboarding shoe. We'll be a skateboarding shoe store. 2, like great for Mondays. Let's just go grab one more Adidas picture here. We're going to select media. So there's 2 ways. You can drag and drop media. You saw me do that before. You can also choose to upload files. It's these black ones. We'll make these 50. Okay, so we've created another skateboarding shoe, and we're going to hit create new item. So we'll have the same interface here. You have different versions. You can choose to publish. You can schedule to publish it too if you wanted to not show that product until a future date. So there's a breadcrumb navigation up here. This is how you can get back to all your products quickly or to the dashboard. So let's click products, and you'll see that we have 2 products now, 2 skateboarding shoes. So if we want to instantly have access to this information headlessly, we need to turn on a few developer settings. So let's first turn on these developer settings. So we're going to turn on the instant JSON API. We're going to allow for cross-domain access. You can choose to or to not do that. I'm doing it for this demo. We're also going to turn on custom view endpoints as well. So we're going to go back in the content. And you can see that Zesty's smart. It's starting to know what I've been doing as a user. So each user will get a different experience here, but it knows I've been recently working on products. So you can see the 2 products I was working on here. Skateboarding shoe 2. And now on the item status over onto the right, you can see that we have a new link here and it's API. So if I click on this link, it's going to give me the headless version of this content. So if you were just straight up building outside of Zesty's web engine, you will have completed, like you've gotten to the happy path where you now have products inside of Zesty that a content manager can easily access and search through. And you have the headless output that a developer would use to, say, build an external React app or build an iOS or whatnot. You instantly have this link here. So that would be, okay, we just completed building headless products on Zesty, and it's been 10 minutes. Awesome. So what we're going to do from this point on is we're going to show you how to use Zesty's web engine. So web engine is basically a website renderer that fully creates a globally available CDN cache, can handle millions of requests in a couple minutes. A couple people who use web engine is like rocketleague.com. You can see the speed at which these sites load is extremely fast. You can go them yourself. A Sony website called alphauniverse.com is also using web engine. So you can check out those two sites, click around. Those are bigger brands, and they get lots of traffic, and Web Engine just handles it just perfectly for them. So let's show you how to actually build out using Web Engine. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a home page that's going to list these two shoes, and we're going to create a shoe page. So if you remember when we were in Zesty accounts, we had two links, Open Manager and Open Preview. Open Preview opens up your preview for Web Engine. Right now, Web Engine really isn't doing much because we haven't coded any HTML into it. So that's what we're going to do now. So in order to work on Web Engine, you click into the editor, which is a code editor. And the first thing you're going to see in code editor is a couple files. We have a 404 page, we have a home page, a loader, and products. So products is directly tied to that content model we created. And we're going to see it's an empty HTML view. So when working on products inside of Zesty, we have a markup language called Parsley, which we can then access anything on the product. You could say when I type this dot, I have access to name, description, price, image. We created all those custom, and Zesty's smart enough to know you have access to them. So let's just test this by creating an H1, which is a header tag. I'm going to hit save. So now if I jump back into my content, I click into products, click on skateboarding shoe 2. I have two options here. I'm going to click on the preview URL, and I'm going to see that it's a very vanilla H1 tag that outputs the name. So let's just fill that out a little more. We're going to go back into the editor, and let's get the product description. So we type this dot, and you can see that it's auto filling. I'm going to grab description, which is a WYSIWYG. Wedge between that, I'm going to grab the product image. Again, we're using HTML here. This dot image. So images act a little bit differently. You say this dot image, and then you say use get image here. This allows you to crop the image and do different things with it, which we will experiment in a bit. And for the alternate text, we're just going to this name, and we're just going to type product image. That way it always says alternate text. Hit save. And now let's look at what our page looks like. So we now have skateboarding shoe, great for Mondays, which is the description and the image. So let's say we want to get an image that is cropped. We can just go right to this get image now. We can say like, let's say 300 by 300, which is a square, and then type the word crop. Zesty's engine is now going to crop that image and redistribute it over the CDN. So now I have a crop version of that image. If I want just a smaller optimized version of that image, I can get rid of the 300 crop and just choose the width, which would be 300. Let's just choose a different one. Let's say 200, make it a little bit smaller. And refresh. And it's going to recreate that image at a smaller size. So if we looked at this image on the web, we could actually see what the image size is and all that. So you can see we have a smaller image, and if we inspect it, we could actually get the size of the image and whatnot. So you can see it's very optimized to load fast, and you can see some of the sizes in here, which is nice. So the out-of-the-box Zesty will optimize an image for you if you tell it. And whatever size image you get, it's always going to be that size because the developer is controlling the view. Okay, so if we want to make this look pretty, we're going to want to import a CSS framework, and our favorite framework right now is Bulma. So Bulma is pretty much, it's like a Bootstrap, a little bit more lightweight, a little bit more new age and modern. So we're going to go get a link to put this into our site. So we'll just say Bulma. There's a website called CDN.js that gives you quick links on a CDN, so we don't have to actually put this on our website, which is great. So over here we have a couple views. One of the views is called loader. That's always going to load when a page is viewed in Zesty. So we're going to create a link tag. It's going to have an H reference to this Bulma, and I believe REL is style sheet. So we'll hit save, and now we'll see if those styles are starting to be picked up. They are. So Bulma has like columns and different things for us to work with. we're going to jump right into just using some of the Bulma framework aspects that we can take advantage of. So Bulma has columns. I'll zoom in for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the image on the right and the content on the left. So Zesty, you can Command A for select all and then hit Shift Tab to clean up your actual HTML markup. And let's see what we got. Now we have content on the left and an image on the right. And I see we're missing our price, so we can actually add another, say, H2. I'm also using Command S to save. And we have our price there too. So I believe we can do in Bulma, it's like has text success. I believe we'll give it a green color there. So let's continue to use the Bulma framework. So something in the Bulma framework is they have containers, which is pretty much a way to center your content on the page. And that's going to start making this thing mobile friendly as well. So we now have centered content here on the page using Bulma. So we're starting to build out a website. All websites do a lot better when they have a navigation. So we're going to jump into Bulma, and you could pretty much just search. I mean, again, if you're using Bootstrap or whatever, they're always going to have a navbar example. So we're just going to grab this navbar example here. There's this convenient copy button. So I was talking about the loader. This always loads. So in Zesty, we can create something called a snippet, and we're going to call this header. And we're going to paste in the navbar we copied, hit save. And the loader, since it always loads, we can actually sandwich our content between a header and a footer, and we can use something called include, and we're going to include a header. Hit save. So now if we refresh this, we're going to get this header, which looks quite nice, has a drop down and whatnot. And if we go look at our home page, which is here, we'll notice that the home page is going to load and the header is going to be there as well. So this header is going to load everywhere. So we want to make this header dynamic, and let's just give it a product drop down. So we're going to show you how you can actually like iterate through the content you now have in your site. So looking over here, there's this drop down here, and it's called more. We're going to change that to products. And inside the nav drop down, you see about, jobs, contact, and report an issue. We're going to use this as our example to loop through, but let's delete these ones. So we're going to each in Zesty, you can go each. Now you have access to any content model you created, so products as product. Then we have to end the loop to tell it when to stop. And then I'm going to paste in that HTML example we had, which was an about. So instead of about, we actually want to list the product name. So you can grab, oops, not this, excuse me, and type product. So we have name, description. We also have access to these meta titles. We have something called meta link text. Typically, this is the shorter version of the product, because if you're creating a navigation, you don't want to have this giant name in it. So we're going to use link text, and we're going to link to it. So it's really simple to dynamically link to it. You just do product.getURL. And I'm going to hit save, refresh, and now you see I have a product drop down now between my two shoes. Oops. And my two shoes are now active. So we pretty much have a base to the website now. We have two shoe pages, and we have a home page with, oh, that's the Bulma home page, with not a lot going on. So let's tie up the home page to the nav bar. That's all you have to do is just change the link to a / here. And we refresh. This now goes to our home page. Remember our home page, there wasn't much going on there, but let's start to format that. So this is like a base home page that it came with. We actually want to use the Bulma styling, so we're just gonna write it from scratch. And again, Bulma starts with a container. I'm gonna close that, and then we're gonna add columns. And inside of that, we're going to do 2 columns again. We're going to do a split layout like we did before. And we're going to do our homepage text. Title. This dot, and we had content. So let's see what our homepage looks like now. Not very exciting, but you can see we're getting it now in like more of a centered fashion. So in Bulma, you gotta add the class title to things. Great. And you can see now it's gonna start taking those styles. So we want to iterate through the products to list some of our products on the site. So in that second column, we're gonna simply through each product. Can use a UL here. So we're making an unordered list of products. And we can say again this dot. This time we're going to want the actual product title. So we hit save. We're going to see now a list of our products on the right. And I made a mistake. So I actually want to say product listing. Leave this dot name. Okay, so now we have our 2 products over here. On our home page, we have skateboarding shoe 2 and skateboarding shoe. We actually now want to turn these into links, right? So let's see how we can do that. Is we're going to wrap it in an anchor tag, and we're going to dynamically link product listing to refresh. Yep.
Can we add one more shoe?
Sure. Okay, so now we have links to these shoes. Great. Let's just add a different version of the image, and then we'll add another shoe to show you how this all starts to automate. So once this is set up by a developer, yeah, this takes some developer time to get going, but once it's all set up, the content authors have full control of the content at that point. So let's just drop in the image. So remember, you can take one image that you uploaded, say in Zesty, and your developer can have control to manipulate that image to do anything you want with it. So let's just take I don't know, 100, let's just get something really small, 100 by 100 crop. Always add your alternate text. It's really important for screen readers and people with disabilities. It's easy to forget this when you're developing and then not remember where you didn't do it. So let's always do that. So again, let's go to the home page. Now you can see these crops. I mean, they're not beautiful, but you can start to see the foundation of an e-commerce site. All right, so now that we have this home page set up, listing through a couple products, we can click into a product and see the product page. Let's now add another product image. Let's go find another Adidas shoe. Adidas shoes. Let's grab these sweet ones right here. All right, so I added that to my home page. clean up some of our tabs here. Let's add a new product. So remember, it knows me as a user, I kind of been editing products and homepage, so I see this here. When your content starts to build out, it becomes very helpful because it gives you recent things you've worked on and a quick jump too. So I'm going to add a new product called tennis shoe. Green. Great for playing tennis. Not really, probably, but price. I'll make these $89 and let's upload them. So again, you can just drag and drop in the Zesty, which probably is the easier thing to do than search your file system. And you can see it's creating that tennis shoe green, create new item, and let's look at our homepage. It's now cropping that image, that green tennis shoe. So we now have green tennis shoe here. Awesome. And you see in our product drop down, we automatically got that as well. And we're going to go to a page, and we have our tennis shoe page. So you can then do things at this point. Say in Zesty, you can start storing cookies to track like where the user went. And I don't know, cookies can be used for personalization and whatnot. So we actually have on the Zesty.io website, which you can see, we do this just to show you an example. So it knows that I'm logged into Zesty, and it's delivering me a different homepage than I would otherwise. If I was to go to Zesty.io, normally in an incognito site, I get a different homepage, right? So it's actually delivering different types of content to me. So we actually have a quick little, I think we just say like cookie JavaScript. Quick way to store a cookie. You're going to do this with JavaScript. JS cookie. So we're just going to, just like we copied Bulma, we're going to just bring in this JavaScript from outside of Zesty into the system. In the loader, can paste that here. And we're just going to look at usage. So it's pretty simple. So we can store a cookie this way. And we're going to bring this onto the product page here. So we're adding this cookie script. It gives us access to write something like cookie set name value. So we could just call this product, and we can actually, in this value, we can access Zesty's product name here. Oops. So now we should be storing cookies for this particular product. And you can see right there, that is now a cookie called tennis green shoe product, right? And if we want to access that cookie to start, we can use that cookie to make decisions, say on our homepage or later down the road, to provide custom content to a user. So let's just go back to that cookie example. And if you want to get a cookie here, so what we're going to do is we're going to just clean this text up. We're going to bring this script so it loads everywhere. We'll put it in the loader. We're going to jump over to our home page, and we're going to create another H1 that will just stick out to show you how you can actually modify this. It has text warning. And we'll give it an ID of like, I don't know, cookie example. And now we have to write some JavaScript to power the personalization. And let's just go back and grab this example here. It was just get name. It's pretty simple. So cookies.get. So we can say document.get. And we called it cookie example. And then we can say so we called our cookie product, right? So that should be all we need. Let's see how well we did. I typed that in wrong, so I had an error myself. There we go. Oops. So now you can see, sorry, I keep clicking off. It says green tennis shoe because that's where I was. So if I go into skateboarding shoe 2, it should be resetting the cookie if I go back, skateboarding shoe 2. So it knows my behavior at this point, and I can start making decisions based upon where I went. And we're pulling this information directly from Zesty. So if I was go back into the tennis shoe and go back to the home page, I now see that I have green tennis shoe. So it knows what my previous thing I was viewing. You can store cookies for as long as you want. You have to have that pop up for GDPR reasons. You have to have people accept cookies if you're doing business overseas. But this is how you can start personalizing the homepage. So you can make a decision to like only load images that, or only load content around green tennis shoes, or you can load tennis content or whatnot. So we're at the half-hour mark. I want to stop here and answer any questions we have from viewers. And take a sip of my coffee. Yeah, if we have no questions at this point, you can reach out to our developer chat. You can also reach out through our chat box on the website. We can answer any questions there. We can also spend time with your developers doing some of this process just to get a feel for it. But with that, we'll close out the stream, and thank you very much.